So, Captain America: Civil War, one of my personal favorite MCU movies.
Big one, yeah.
Yep, but it could have been a lot better.
Yeah, there was definitely a movie. When we went to go and watch it, there was a movie we had envisioned when we were going there with the hype, and we did not get that movie at all.
So in this video, we're going to try and create that movie based on what we think would have been a better alternate take of it.
Yep.
So, why don't you start us off soon?
So we're going to start off with the movie. So we start with the Marvel, the beginning credits, the intro credits with Marvel, the flashing red. And we roll up to Tony Stark at MIT. So this is very similar to the one where he had the holographic parent scene.
Yeah.
So we have Tony Stark going talking to the kids over at MIT, and he's going to give them the money still. So this is a big deal. Tony Stark is here for this big entrepreneurial event, or you would call it philanthropy event.
Yeah.
And in this one, I think we have it here on our notes. But I don't know if we haven't decided this for sure yet, that we had the no parents scene, where the parents were not mentioned in this scene. It was just Tony Stark being a philanthropist for like 5 seconds, something like that.
Yeah, it looks like we had the idea to make it where maybe he's like interacting with his dad if you do want to use the holographic technology, because that does come into play in Spider-Man Far From Home.
Right.
So we could if we do that, it would just be him and his dad, because his dad was a huge plot point in Iron Man 2. So it makes sense. He's kind of just still, and also an Endgame. So it makes sense he's still in the movie in this one.
Yeah, that's how
just the dad, though, like in his expo, they're having like a small conversation, and then it cuts to, oh yeah, me and my dad never talked like that, but whatever. And like something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll do it where we have it, the classic expo stuff with Daddy Stark.
Yeah,
that's
with
always
the holograms, and then it ends with the same thing, MIT kids, he gives them money, boom.
Yes, and then at the end, after he's done giving them the money, the journalists around, it's not one person. So in the original movie, it's just one person. Now we have where they're, right after he's done, a bunch of journalists are asking him questions. Cameras are flashing. It's getting pretty hectic. And they keep pestering him about the Sokovia incident. And at this point, it's a more well-known news story where Sokovia crashed to the ground and hundreds and thousands of people died, of course, to save the planet. But they're obviously have been hounding the Avengers about this occurrence, and Tony Stark is getting the brunt force of it, I think.
Of course, yeah, because he's not only the face of the Avengers, but rumors could have gotten out that Ultron was kind of his fault, right? And people, he also was a celebrity before he became the superhero. So I think it gives journalists extra incentive to really hound Tony Stark, and like, because in Iron Man 1, he stopped making weapons because he felt bad about the people they were killing, and then it happened with Ultron.
Yes.
So like those are things that I think journalists would have a field day with, trying to get a scoop from him.
Yes. So now you can go to the next scene.
Okay. Yeah. So the next scene is we're gonna have Captain America at Peggy's funeral now, right after that scene with Tony. So the same like it happens in the original Civil War. He's at the funeral. He talks to Sharon. And Sharon still gives that same speech from Peggy with, you gotta plant yourself like a tree and tell other people to move or whatever it was. So that still happens the same. It just, there's no, we're just moving it up a little earlier, basically, in the movie.
Yeah, so now Captain America has been primed with this sad scene. You can see the rain pouring just like it was in that scene. If I remember correctly, it might not be remembered.
No, he was in a church in the... We can't be outside in this moment.
I want him outside in the rain.
Well, I'm outside with the rain. Make it extra
I don't know
sad.
why. That's what I see.
Make it poignant. Yeah. And it kind of helps to show Cap as a just isolated character. Now, that was like the last time it was passed, right? Mm-hmm. So now she's just gone. She passed away. And now he's just alone in the rain.
Now we do a classic cut, and we have Tony and Cap are walking into an underground tunnel towards the Pentagon. Cap asks Tony what he thinks is going on, and Tony says basically he has a vague idea. And this is where you get the hint. He knows what they're going to be talking about, since, like we said, it's been a really big news story as of late. They're going to be talking about the Sokovia Accords.
Yeah, which is why we have Tony, it's implied Tony's been asked by journalists a lot about the Sokovia Accords, which Cap clearly isn't really involved with that, so he has no idea what that's a big deal, really,
Yeah. So then they enter into a concrete room. It's kind of similar to, if you guys have ever seen Interstellar, we've done a video on that in this channel.
Yes.
When they walk into NASA in Interstellar, and it's like this kind of isolated, unknown underground bunker that's very similar to what they walk into here. An unknown bunker in between,
concrete everywhere, no windows or anything.
In between the Pentagon and the White House. So that's about where we are here.
Yeah, then Ross is there, and he introduces the Sokovia Accords to them. And then, just like in the original movie, he tells them about it. But for this one, we want to focus more on, which we always thought was weird in the original movie. They never mentioned the fight in Korea between Hulk and Iron Man. So we wanted to mention that with the Sokovia Accords.
We obviously want to mention that Tony Stark in some way created Ultron.
Yeah.
This is a big thing.
So he's responsible for Ultron and Sokovia in general. Because, in the original Civil War, they made it seem like the situation in New York was very similar to the situation in Sokovia, when it really wasn't. Because the situation in New York was they were defending Earth from aliens, and if they didn't get involved, New York would have been exploded, basically. Whereas in Ultron and Sokovia, that was all Iron Man's fault. Because not only did he stop Ultron and cause the Sokovia to crash back down, but he also created Ultron. So it makes sense to focus more on that, and also like the Korea fight and everything like that. So
and then someone else brings up that there used to be oversight for the Avengers when S.H.I.E.L.D. was operating. S.H.I.E.L.D. was oversight. And so, whether Captain America wants to deal with it or not, there used to be oversight.
Exactly. So that's the thing with this is that, because I think it's a little bit, it's not really mentioned in the original one either, that, the reason this is also new is because the Avengers used to answer to S.H.I.E.L.D. They used to have this huge government, which S.H.I.E.L.D. was a part of the government. They had the World Security Council above S.H.I.E.L.D., but then in Winter Soldier, Captain America 2, S.H.I.E.L.D. is Hydra's all within S.H.I.E.L.D., so S.H.I.E.L.D. gets disbanded, basically. And also, it's basically Captain America's fault that happened, because he's the one who realized that Hydra was in S.H.I.E.D. and kind of tore them apart from the inside out. So it's also, a little bit his fault that this is happening.
Yeah.
Because he got rid of S.H.I.E.L.D., what she had to do, but still, it's consequence.
Well, yeah, they were Hydra.
Yeah, it's still a consequence of his actions, though, where he is responsible for S.H.I.E.L.D. disbanding, and now the Avengers are just kind of operating on their own, which, they always had oversight. Now it's just the government's like, well, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s gone, so someone has to, do it.
Yeah. So, we can also have it where Ross he says a little line that this is more for political pressure right now. The media has been hounding them from both sides, and so the president, as part of a political push, decides that we're going to try and handle this right now and reintroduce the oversight that S.H.I.E.L.D. once provided. And then Ross says, well, we're going to give you a few days to discuss. And it kind of sets the tone that right now, it's not super serious, and to what extent will it even be enforced is kind of questionable. But Tony Stark has already been thinking about this on a more serious level.
Yeah, and so right off the bat, there's not a huge debate scene at this point, like there originally was, but there's the characters exchange some words where it's very clear that there's already some slight biases in this. Where Captain America is immediately kind of put on edge about more government control, and Iron Man's kind of seeming like he's okay with it. So it's a little bit, like a slight biased conversation, but not a full yelling debate like in the movie where they're mad. It's just a little bit of a slight,
Yeah, so
bias.
Every now and then when a certain topic is brought up during this meeting, Iron Man or Captain America will wince because they have their innate tendencies that they always want to stubbornly, attach to.
Yeah, they'll make a face or something, but nothing too outwardly aggressive.
And that's all that happens here. And then they leave the concrete room. They go back to the bunker up in upstate New York.
Back to the compound.
The compound.
They go back to the Avengers compound in upstate New York. And then so now we have the same team as the original opening in Civil War, which was Scarlet Witch, Black Widow, Falcon, and Cap. So now they're at the compound because they happen to be just present and aware for this, and they go to the crossbones incident. Bucky,
so they get a call in.
Yeah, they get a call. Also, Bucky is in our version here. Bucky's going to be at the compound because we have a Captain America 3 rewrite coming soon.
Yeah, you can watch it over here. If we ever post it.
Yeah, we can hopefully post it.
Somewhere in the.
Yeah, so he's cleared his name, Captain America 3, so he's kind of cleared of all the Hydra connections and whatnot, but he still has that brainwashing thing in him, so he's not like an active member of the Avengers at this point, but they keep him around because they figure he's safer closer to us than far away. So
which makes sense.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
So he doesn't go on the mission with them here, but we just see him there in the compound hanging out.
And we'll explain more why Bucky is more of a free man after we do a Captain America 3.
Yeah, that one will go into depth with this, but so now we have the original 4 who were involved in the Crossbones incident in the original Civil War. They get dispatched to go, and that scene basically plays out the same way it did in the movie.
Yep. And then we find out who's in the building, though.
Yes. The only thing we changed is the explosion that Scarlet Witch causes, or that really Crossbones causes, that Scarlet Witch moves, where we really like the scene with T'Challa and T'Chaka talking in the UN building right before it explodes, but in this version that doesn't happen. So instead, they have a similar conversation where we get the similar vibe of their relationship, but it's at this other building where they're doing like some kind of political outreach thing in this other country, not at the UN. They're just, reaching out, and that's when the explosion happens and T'Chaka dies, and he dies in T'Challa's arms, basically.
Yeah.
So that happens here now, in our version. So, Falcon, Captain America, and Black Widow go to help everybody. Scarlet Witch is crying, just like in the original movie. Captain America's freaking out about all the deaths and the explosion. He's like, just dismayed by it.
Yeah, because Scarlet Witch, she can get emotional sometimes, like we've seen in the movie. So after she realizes that she has caused more destruction than she was trying to avoid, she breaks down already on the scene. Yeah,
and this one, in the original, Crossbones distracts Captain America by talking about Bucky, and this one doesn't happen. They're talking about something else, and then he does it because anything that could be anything with the suicide bomb. Yeah.
So you hit the next scene.
Okay, so now we go back to the compound. So, Tony's back, all the Avengers at the compound, the team goes back there, and this is where we have the primary debate. So, in this version, in our version, basically, this isn't when the Sokovia Accords get brought up, because we've already introduced them a scene or two ago. So now, the characters were already thinking about it, and so was the audience. And then the Crossbones incident occurs, which kind of makes, we think, a stronger impact on the viewer and the characters, because you're already thinking about something, and then the incident occurs that kind of proves if it's right or wrong. So I think it's better served here, and all the Sokovia stuff and everything they mentioned happened in previous movies. It's just this particular incident makes them talk about it again.
And then this debate, like the primary debate, is the in anger debate, and now it's a little bit more fueled because the fire has literally just gone off with the Crossbones incident, and T'Chaka has died. So now Tony is not saying this in a sort of lofty, hypothetical manner. He's saying, this happened today, you screwed up today, to Scarlet Witch, for instance. Yeah. And then imagine that, right away, there's going to be a big fight between all of them. A little bit more angry than it was in the actual movie.
Yeah, it's very passive aggressive in the original movie. So we kind of put all the more passive comments in the first, kind of slightly biased conversation. And in this one now, everyone's kind of just ready to go because Tony's pissed. He's like, that's it. We need oversight. This is stupid. We shouldn't be operating on our own anymore. And then Captain America is just ready to fire back because he knows they did everything in their power to prevent this from happening. And even if the UN had just signed off on this, Crossbones still would have exploded himself and everything. So their debate's a little more heated, and we actually get a little more insight to what everyone's thinking. Because in the original one, we had the problem, which we discussed in another video, we had the problem where, no one really stuck to their guns, and you couldn't really get everyone's opinion. It wasn't too clear. In this one, you get a very clear indication of who believes in what, and Tony and company, Team Tony, Team Iron Man, they much more strongly believe in the Accords. Yes. And they're not just kind of passively going along with it. It's more like after this incident and the death, and they think it was all preventable, they are very much pro-Accords at this point.
So in Tony's side, they now have the Hulk incident, the Ultron incident, and the Sokovia incident. You consider those two separate incidents.
Yeah, the Ultron Sokovia.
You have Tony Stark's previous encounter in Iron Man 1. Yeah. And now you have what just happened with the Crossbones incident. So now there's a lot more backing Tony's side. Yeah. But then you can also have Vision coming in and asking that deep question about whether their existence brings about the very enemies that they are now fighting.
Exactly.
The aliens in New York and these kinds of scenarios. Yeah. And just for our own desires, the New York incident is not brought up as a case against Captain America because that makes no sense.
It could be mentioned, but not as focused on, because that's like we said earlier. It makes no sense because those aliens are coming.
Well, also the military option, which was to
nuke the city. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were gonna just destroy everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so kind of a weird thing to
But everything else makes sense to bring up.
Yeah, everything else is fine.
And so now, after this very heated debate, Tony and War Machine straight up leave. Now, by this point, they're all understanding, so this is probably going to come up during the debate, that the Accords are supposed to be signed probably tomorrow-ish.
Yeah, the whole thing with the Accords went from like, oh, you guys have a couple days to talk about it. Now it's, I don't know, this is getting moved up because of what just happened.
Yeah.
Which,
And, because again, this is going to make the news headlines. And so whoever is the president, whoever is the generals, they want this solved even more now to shut up the journalists now,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So now we have, when Tony and War Machine leave, because they were kind of spearheading, Team Iron Man and all that, we have the more, like that Steve, Wanda, and Vision scene where they talk about, when you lose some people, you don't give up, you keep fighting, right? And you kind of get a glimpse into Steve's philosophy about everything.
So now with this scene, because I was at the scene.
Yeah.
With this scene, it's kind of the aftermath of that heavy debate. So now it's quiet within the compound. The only people there are Steve, Wanda, and Vision. So Vision is tending to Wanda right now, who still, at this point, is very emotional and trying to handle the fact that she's the reason Chewbacca died.
Mm.
And then you have Steve, at the same time trying to console Wanda, realizing and finally digging deeper into his own thoughts. And then you can go on from here.
And that's basically it for that scene, honestly.
Okay.
It's not much. One thing we do have is that the next morning, Black Widow goes to see Steve. And they had a very serious discussion. So, in the original movie, this happened in the funeral of Peggy. But now we're going to have it here, where Black Widow talks to Steve about her belief. Because I always liked Black Widow's stance in the original Civil War movie, where she very clearly from the beginning didn't agree with it, but she was being very logical, and she was just, like, if we don't sign this, they're going to just make us stop being Avengers. So we might as well just sign it, and then as time passes, we can, try to mend it or really just do our own thing anyway. And she was talking to Steve, and when she talked to Steve at the funeral, she really got through to him because, he saw that she cared for him and she was there for him. And even later on in the movie, Steve almost signs it with Tony in I think it was like the CIA compound or something like that, like the CIA headquarters. And Tony almost got him to sign it until he said Scarlet Witch was under house arrest. But clearly I think that Steve, as a character, would be open to signing the Accords just to keep the team together if in his head he knew that, hey, you know what? I really don't believe in this and I'm not going to go along with it fully, but I'll just sign it so they allow the Avengers to exist. Because if he doesn't sign it, the existence of the Avengers in general is kind of at risk now. So
it's a question.
Yeah, so this conversation with Black Widow holds a little more weight to it, in which she actually convinces Captain America to sign the Accords.
Yeah, and he does.
He does.
Yeah. So we see the scenes in the UN of what happened in New York City, the UN in New York City.
Yeah.
Of Tony, War Machine, Vision, Wanda, and Captain America all signing. And you can have the journalists going crazy. The world now knows the Sokovia Accords have been signed. And this is where it can also get interesting. Because again, S.H.I.E.L.D. did exist. So why would the Sokovia Accords be such a much bigger a signing?
Yeah.
And, I guess I'll come into a little bit later, maybe, right?
Maybe, yeah.
I'm just saying, we're going to leave those notes like, hey, why is this a bigger deal than it should be? Even according to Ross. Well, okay, so right after that scene, we go to Queens. And this is where Tony Stark finally meets Spider-Man.
Yeah. And this is going to be very different than what happens in the movie. Because the movie really makes no sense what was going on with that. Because we were talking about it. And the whole idea of the Accords is, you have to register with the government to be allowed to be a superhero. And they made it like very Avengers focused, but in my, they were talking about just how superpowered, enhanced individuals need to have some kind of, someone to report to, some kind of oversight, we keep saying, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense for Tony to then go to some teenager who he knows has incredible superpowers and be like, hey, you want to just like freelance for me and come help me with one mission,
Yeah.
The whole point of it is to get to get them to register with the government. So we have it now where instead of Tony visiting in a very lighthearted manner, where he's oh, here's a free suit, man, here's this and that. Now he's going to, in a way recruit Spider-Man, but not for on his team. He's going to register him with the government.
Yes, because again, Tony's the one who really cares about this.
Yes, that's the other thing too, is because Tony's like so passionate, he's taking it upon himself to go do this. In the Civil War comics, it was like the Registration Act, and Tony or Iron Man, spearheaded that movement, and he was very, very pro registration, to the point where it wasn't like Ross making him do it. He wanted to do it himself. He believed in them, which I think we're missing in this. We were missing in the original movie of when two people have different political views or different philosophical views, you can get into really serious fights or debates with someone who you consider your friend. We see happening all the time in the real world, right?
Yeah.
And happened in the comics, which made the comics so interesting, was heroes who believed in the same thing overall heavily disagreed on this topic, and they were very passionate about it. And they were still both good people on both sides. They disagreed about one core issue. And in the movie, in the original movie, you don't really get that feeling of like two friends or two groups of friends disagreeing on a political issue. You kind of just get like this weird, like very passive thing. So we want to make it now where Tony is very passionate about the Accords.
Yes.
So he takes it upon himself. He finds out about Spider-Man, and he goes to make him register basically with the government. So that scene of him, he's just like, "Oh, hey, is this you, right? Stopping that bus." It's not like a little funny scene. Now it's a little more like, it's not threatening, but almost.
It's much less like, oh, here's cool Tony Stark, the uncle kind of guy. It's more of, here's Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Like he's
Yeah.
why is he here? Why? Like it'd be much more like, oh, what the heck is he doing here right now?
Why is Tony Stark here? Yeah, and it's we can make it where I don't know if we have like
when he pulls down.
reaction.
Now when he pulls down and sees the suit, it's, you're Spider-Man. You need to register now.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not like, oh, hey, here's your suit. You got pajamas. Here, I'll give you an upgrade. No. We haven't given the upgrade, but it's more of like a confrontational scene.
Yeah, so it's more confrontational, and then as he starts eating away at Spider-Man's trust of himself, he then offers up the suit as a bargaining chip.
Yeah.
So he says,
that's fair, I think.
Here, kid, you sign these Accords, and I'll give you the suit. I've been working on this, I'll give it to you anyways, and then that's how he can, that's how Spider-Man can get the more aesthetic suit, so that they can sell the toys.
Yeah, need the aesthetic suit.
Yeah.
For the trailer. So, now for that scene with Spider-Man, we have straight up an action scene. There's a small villain. It could be a terrorist, like taking hostages in a different country. We were saying it'd be cool to have like a small villain from the comics make an appearance, like someone like not like a costume villain, but someone one of the more serious villains from just a little name throw in there, but some kind of like international incident occurs, and at any other point in time, the Avengers would not have at all waited or hesitated to go intervene. But now, since everyone signed the Accords, they have to. They have to wait for the UN to get clearance to go into this country and, help the local police or whoever it is with the hostage terrorist situation going on involving some kind of like low supervillain. Right?
Right.
So, basically, Captain America and Falcon don't want to wait because they know that these hostages are probably going to die if they wait for the UN to get clearance, which is exactly what they wanted to avoid with the Accords. And now, as audience members and viewers of the movie, you get an immediate consequence of the Accords. So it's not just like hypothetical document the entire movie. Now it's, okay, you signed it, this is what happens. Like, this is what Captain America was talking about. You now can't help someone who needs it.
Right, so like in the immediate scenes after they've signed it, you see Spider-Man have to register, and a terrorist attack happened in a country and they no longer can just rush off to, and Captain America has to make a big decision and break the Accords.
Yes, which is very in character for him. We've, in Captain America 2, Winter Soldier, the whole thing is him going up against S.H.I.E.L.D. and taking it down because, he doesn't agree with his values, And we covered that in the last video we made too here. But it's very much in character with him to go against government when he disagrees with it morally.
Yeah.
And so I think it's very believable he would do that. We already knew that he had a problem with the Accords, and he was signing it to appease everybody. And now we have it.
Wait, isn't it a much bigger problem now that he actually signed the Accords?
Yeah, that too. So now that he actually signed it, he's not like just some vigilante going to this country to stop a terrorist. Now it's like, okay, you signed the Accords, so on paper,
you're the one who needs to
like you work for the UN on paper. So now when you go, you're no longer being a vigilante. You're going rogue. Yeah. It's like if like some kind of like FBI agent or like police officer did something illegal. It's not like some vigilante doing it. It's like someone who's supposed to do their job, breaking the law.
Yeah. So the rest of the people are on Captain America's team because we don't know if did Falcon sign it. What do you think?
I think everyone signed it. Falcon went with him to stop the
Well,
terrorist attack.
I mean, Ant-Man, the other people were part of his teams. I don't think they signed it.
I think they will have it where they made like the more prominent Avengers sign it, and they were just like, for the headlines and like to appease everybody, and they were going to slowly get people like Ant-Man and Hawkeye
To register.
To register. Yeah.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah.
understand.
Which we want to use the term register a little more in this movie.
It's more
Because
proper.
signing, they keep saying signing. There's not much weight there. When you say register,
And this is where I alluded to earlier, where because of the fact that the Ultron event has happened now.
Oh.
So S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't exist. The Ultron event has happened now. Maybe they need more than just oversight. Maybe they need a registration act now.
Yeah.
And this is where...
Yep.
Because the Sokovia Accords in the original movie are essentially just a redo of S.H.I.E.L.D. and so for some reason making a big deal about it.
it's like UN Shield. Basically. Yeah.
Now it's like that, or it's supposed to be like that,
Yeah.
and then immediately once like the Crossbone event happens, becomes okay. Now they also need to be registered. They're already beginning to get a little bit more control over the superheroes.
Yeah, which has to be an issue because it can't just be Shield 2.0. It has to be this is what happens when the government takes over.
Yeah,
is that you lose which is kind of the whole point of the Accords.
Yeah,
you lose your individual freedoms a little bit there with going and we also want to get into the actual philosophy behind that, which we'll try to do in the debate more too, where Tony can say his points to at certain points in the movie because with this being I'm sure we mentioned this already, but this isn't going to be. We said we have a rewrite for Captain America 3, so this movie is not Captain America 3 Civil War. This movie is Avengers Civil War. So we felt that was important because calling it Captain America or it being Captain America 3 Civil War kind of implies that Captain America is correct automatically with his stance, and we want to make it more of a question like it was in the comics. I think where it's Tony Stark has his points too, and they both do, and it's like you have to ask yourself who do you agree with more in this scenario. So it being just the Avengers Civil War, you get a little more 360-degree point of view of this issue, I think. Which is important.
I think chaos ensues more in this one.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah. Okay, so...
so we have the terrorist attack. They go.
Yeah, so they go... So Captain America...
It's just Captain America and Falcon, I think, go.
Yes,
we have it.
And the rest of them will meet up with them later, I assume. They take a ship, so they can leave from, New York airport or whatever. And then... Immediately after they leave, because it was understood that there was a terrorist attack going on there, the government was trying to figure out the, how they were going to get Captain America, Iron Man, and the Avengers there.
Yeah, they were working on getting clearance, basically.
They weren't not going to do it. They were going to try and do it.
That's the thing is we don't want to have it where it's the government was going to do nothing unless Captain America was. It's like they were just going through the proper channels, and Cap didn't want to wait.
Right, which again, I would sympathize with Captain America.
Totally fair, but it's just. You see kind of both sides of the coin now.
And then Ross tells Iron Man to go and arrest Cap. So this one's not Iron Man going to go help Captain America like it was in the original movie. He's going to arrest him as part of the Accords. And he's sending Spider-Man. So it's not Iron Man bringing in Spider-Man. Spider-Man's being forced because he's registered. So he has to go. Ross tells him to go.
You lose your autonomy like that. And so the thing with that is in the original Civil War, there was that scene where, Tony was basically begging Ross if he could bring Captain America in instead of some J-Side Marvel, some of the Marine guys he was saying, and he was please, give us 72 hours, and it's the whole point of the Accords is that the government can tell you what to do now, so it just makes more sense for Ross to send Tony in, and I'm thinking because you were saying who goes to the terrorist attack,
right?
I'm thinking it makes more sense if it's all Team Cap who goes. To the whether it's now or write after, but
right.
The team we have for Cap is gonna be the same team as in the movie, the original movie, but just for different reasons now. So with Hawkeye and Ant-Man, it was kind of almost nonsensical why they would involve themselves because Hawkeye was retired with his family, Ant-Man was under house arrest, I think, and had a daughter he wanted to go clean for. So it makes no sense that both these characters would break the rules. What we think would break the law, really. What would make more sense, we think, is that since they Hawkeye is like one of the best trained humans in the world, and then Ant-Man has the suit and powers and whatnot. We think it would make a lot more sense if that the reason why Hawkeye and Ant-Man are joining Captain America for his, anti-registration beliefs is because the government would want them to become like active duty mission people again. So the government would want Ant-Man and Hawkeye to go on missions and fight villains and do what they do, but they both want to stay retired with their families at this point. So
Right.
their team Cap, not just because they like Captain America and they owe him one, but because they want to be left alone. And the government won't let them be left alone because you're too powerful for us to just forget you exist.
Which
so
for
you
Hawkeye,
have to register.
For Hawkeye, that would be that's horrible for him. He
Yeah.
retired to get the time with his family.
Yeah, and Ant-Man wants to, he has a daughter. He's trying to,
Right.
he wants her to think he's like a good guy. So he doesn't want to be taken away on missions and whatnot. So for both of them, it makes sense that they're kind of forced to join Captain America because of his philosophy. They don't want to fight, but they're kind of reluctantly involved now. So they might not go to stop the terrorist attack with him, but once that becomes an issue, they would then go and help him fight.
Yes. Yeah, I
Which
think
is,
so. Yeah.
And then the government team would be the same. It would be Iron Man, Spider-Man, War Machine, Black Widow, Black Panther, and Vision. And we have here where, since they're now working for the United Nations, the government, all their costumes are basically the same, but they have like a little UN patch somewhere on their
a little
outfits,
insignia will be on all their on all their shoulders.
Yeah.
Does Captain America also have his on, or does
we could have him like rip it off right before he goes? That'd be cool. Like right before he goes to terrorist attack, he rips it off his sleeve or something.
Yeah.
So we'll have it where Captain America and Falcon obviously get to the terrorist incident first.
Yes.
And they solve it. We'll have it where this time there's no casualties, there's no problem. That they solve it nicely. They knock the guy out, they arrest him, whatever, and they save all the hostages, and that's it.
And it turns out that the hostage event wasn't that serious, which again doesn't really bode well for Captain America then.
Yeah. Either way, it's he said that they did what he thought he had to do, but
he did the right thing objectively.
Yeah. But it wasn't some world-ending event.
Exactly.
I think there were police there and there were agents there and whatnot, but
maybe going through the proper UN channels in this particular case
wouldn't have been a bad thing. I mean, alternatively, we could have it where, maybe it was some issue where he really shouldn't even, maybe, I think we should keep it our way. But in case you wanted to go more of the Captain America being wrong route, we could also have it where him and Falcon, screw things up when they go there.
It's a way to go.
It's a way to go, but I like ours better. But
then it's Iron Man Civil War.
That's exactly, yeah. So if you could have where they go, the police had it under control, and their presence kind of makes them go crazy. There's another option. But I think for our rewrite though, we're doing where they solve the problem and it goes smoothly, and then what happens is, here's what we have. Black Widow, because she's always kind of been on the fence. She contacts Captain America, and she tells him that they know where you flew in to whatever country this is, and they're sending us out to arrest you from there. So then, this is where Captain America maybe contacts Sharon and uses his resources to get his team to him to help, and then the airport scene ensues. Yes. Basically the same, but
so now the airport scene though doesn't have its little jokes and funny moments. Now the airport scene
it's more serious now.
Yeah,
it's more serious.
But we'll still have it where Ant-Man becomes Giant Ant-Man, and all these things happen. Except one big difference happens in our airport scene versus the real one, and that is Spider-Man. So in the original airport scene, Spider-Man has a little bit of fun. There's this one line where him and Falcon are going off each other, and Falcon's like, "Don't you know you're not supposed to talk that much during these things?" Something like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen here. Spider-Man's forced to go, and Captain America is one of his biggest idols. So, and also vibes him more philosophically.
Yeah, even in the comics, he vibes with Captain America more. Yeah.
With great power comes great responsibility. That seems
more like Cap.
Yes.
Than Iron Man.
Just I would say it sounds more like Captain America.
And you're a big Iron Man fan.
I'm a huge Iron Man
fan. So coming from you, that
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
You're not biased with that, so.
So, he ends up going there and having to fight his previous idols, and he's still a kid. And this is where Spider-Man starts having his own internal issues already about the Sokovia Accords.
Yeah, because he's very confused. He wasn't involved in it from the beginning like they were. So he's just kind of like, why are the Avengers fighting each other? He's, no one told him anything. He's a kid. They didn't think to explain it to him, really.
Yeah.
He just knew he had to, sign up for this. He doesn't realize what's going on and why they're fighting. He's probably very confused, very scared, honestly. You got him crack some jokes because, he kind of cracks jokes to alleviate his anxiety in the comics and stuff. But it shouldn't be. I will say the original airport fight felt so lighthearted because it really felt like some friend just kind of like having a scrap in the backyard. It didn't feel like they were really fighting seriously because they weren't. They weren't trying to hurt each other. They were just trying to, get the other side to stop. Whereas in this one, Iron Man's actually upset. Like, he's mad that Captain America is going against the Accords and the Registration Act. And in this one, keep in mind, in the original airport fight, Captain America here, he's not trying to escape the airport and go stop these 5 super soldiers he thinks are, in some Russian lab somewhere. All he's trying to do is not get arrested, and he's just fighting for his own freedom and his team's freedom. That's his motivation here. There's no, I have to save the world, and Tony doesn't understand that because he doesn't know this information that I know. No. None of that. He just doesn't want to get arrested because he thinks he's doing the right thing.
It's just on principle.
It's just on principle, and it's just like a very personal issue.
Yeah.
Really.
And also doesn't have anything to do with Bucky. Bucky is there on his team, but he's not trying to save his best friend in this one either.
Yeah, a lot of the Bucky story that we're taking out from Civil War will be in the Captain America 3 movie that we eventually write. So that's still coming, but,
But then as the fight continues to escalate, they start to leave the battlefield, and this is where, who is it who shoots?
Vision.
Vision shoots down War Machine. And in this one, War Machine isn't dead, even though Bobby wanted him to be dead.
Yes.
But it's still a Disney movie.
Still Disney.
So
I will say, we have it where he gets paralyzed in our official rewrite here, but I will say, as an aside again, that since the, Tony's parents being killed by Winter Soldier clearly isn't going to be a plot point in this movie, I thought that to get Tony that angry and that passionate about fighting at the very end of the movie, we could have had it too where War Machine gets killed. So he's just fully bloodlusted by that point to get rid of Cap. But in the official rewrite, he gets just paralyzed again.
yeah, I vetoed that one.
Yeah, that's it.
I get one veto.
You get one veto, yeah.
So instead, he's just paralyzed from the waist down.
Yeah, just like in the movie.
Just like in the movie. But we make a bigger deal out about it because sometimes it's more about the way you present it. It was a very quick scene. But
Yeah. There was really no weight to it the way it's showed in the movie, so we're just gonna have it be a little more of a emotional, heavy hitting scene.
Yeah,
to
a
make
little
up for
bit
that.
more time will be spent on it because, for instance, I think what happens is that he falls down and Falcon comes over to say I'm sorry, and then Iron Man just shoots him. And that's pretty much all we really get about that scene.
And it's kind of almost like a comedy, repulsor blast.
There's
So
no,
it's almost funny.
War Machine, is he dead? Is he not?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
I also want to see the after effects of the fight, because we have it here where Captain America, Falcon, and Winter Soldier escape.
Yeah, so then
The three of them escape.
we have an entire scene now to again show the catastrophe the Avengers had, and this is more like the Hulk versus Iron Man thing, where it was just them.
Yeah.
There really wasn't much going on. The hostage situation likely could have been handled by the police that were there.
Yeah.
So now you can zoom out on the airport and watch and see the airplanes, the complete destruction by just the Avengers.
Yeah. And also, I want to see the rest of Team Cap get arrested.
Yeah.
And I think we have it to where Black Widow gets arrested also.
Yes, we have where Black Widow gets arrested.
Well, basically, they find out that she betrayed them and gave Cap the heads up, so she gets arrested also. And we see all the Avengers being put into shackles and handcuffs and thrown in their cells. I think that kind of hits you a little bit harder when you see it happen, versus them skipping ahead to Tony visiting them in the prison. I think it really when you just see the Avengers defeated on the floor, and the ones who are deemed bad get arrested and thrown in the cell. I think that kind of makes it seem a little more serious too, which we want.
So now we have it where the airport fight scene has now ended. We can go back to New York, or we go back with just Iron Man and Spider-Man. I don't know if it needs to be in New York. I don't think it actually needs to be. and Iron Man and Spider-Man are talking, and Ross has been changing the rules behind the scenes, especially after the airport fight scene has just happened. Again, this has made international headlines, and now the Registration Act is going into full gear.
Yeah, because now it's shown that the original Sokovia Accords didn't fix the problem because the Avengers just trashed a foreign airport and were involved in, the terrorist hostage situation. So now Ross is, he wants to, and he's also under pressure from other political leaders to put more pressure on the Avengers.
Yeah.
So
Iron Man is having this conversation with Spider-Man, and he turns around and tells him, by the way, your identity is going to be leaked now. Yeah. That's part of the Accords now.
Part of the new updated Accords.
This isn't Tony's story. This is Ross.
Yeah.
Has General Ross.
Tony's just telling him.
Yeah. And this is where Iron Man now is starting to be sympathetic with Spider-Man. Again, so we're going a little more in lines with how Iron Man and Spider-Man interact in this universe, where Iron Man is his mentor. And this is where we first see Iron Man now beginning to have a little bit of disbelief in these Accords, finally.
A little bit of a doubt.
A little bit of a doubt.
Yeah.
Not enough to completely change his path.
Yeah.
But
on principle, he still agrees with them. He just sees that they're going too far than the way they're doing it.
And this is where, again, I feel like this is a better way for Iron Man to see the Sokovia Accords might be the wrong path, rather than, Captain America was right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was wrong, but Captain America was wrong. It's a better outcome.
Yeah, I agree.
So now we can go back and you take the next scene.
So Spider-Man, how does he respond to that?
Well, he breaks down the same way he does it in the Homecoming movie.
Yeah.
He freaks out. This is his entire identity. He's a kid still. He's worried about Aunt May. He gets really angry at Tony. He asks him, "Why didn't you let me know this was going to happen?" Tony didn't know this was going to happen.
So then, does he decide to retire instead?
Tony tells him,
like, you could retire.
Maybe you should just retire. And then Peter looks back at him and goes, "I can't just do that."
Yeah. Because with great power
comes great responsibility.
So see, now they're basically telling me he can't do that. Which, like you said, shows that he's more in line with Captain America.
Yeah,
okay, so then we have it where Iron Man asks Vision to stay with Rhodey, and he'll handle Cap. And then we also saw before that Cap told Falcon to go into hiding Winter Soldier. So we kind of sideline everybody else to let the end be really just about Iron Man and Captain America.
Yes. So now we come down somewhere in another. I think the Arctic setting was pretty cool for the fight.
I think the Arctic setting was very cool. Yeah, we could have it where it's just upstate again if we want to do it more local, or we could have it, different, snowy country.
Wherever they are.
That part really isn't too important. It's that we want to have one final confrontation. We have it where he still visits the prison, and he gives a speech about the Accords to the prisoners. And all the imprisoned Avengers, and this kind of serves to further show his stance on the Accords and the registration, and why he's so willing to go with them, and the guilt he has for Sokovia, and how he wants to make the world a separate place, and he has a very strong need for control, which we see. That's why Ultron was created. He wanted to put a suit of armor around the world to protect it. With protection comes control.
Yes.
And so he's always been like that. So he, that's his philosophy. So it's definitely fitting for him to be passionate about this. We just need to see him, say that more, which he'll say in the prison to the other Avengers, And also we get to, more importantly, we as the audience get to see why he internally believes in so much, right? And then he's trying to figure out where Cap is because he still, really feels that he has to arrest him. And Ross is also pressuring him to arrest Cap still. So, I don't think we decided if someone gives away Cap's location or if they even know, from the prison. Because in the original movie, Sam tells Tony where Cap is because he thinks he can help him fight off the 5 super soldiers. But we're not doing that. So
I think they wouldn't tell him.
I think in this version they wouldn't.
They wouldn't tell him.
So he'll just have to find Cap maybe using satellite, which he has access to, or something else. Maybe there's
go full surveillance mode. That shows even more
government stuff.
Yeah.
Why not? Hey, they found Bucky that way, so why not? They find Cap that way.
Heck, we could have it where Ross is the one who finds him.
We should probably do that. I think. Yeah, have it where Ross finds Cap and just all right, Iron Man, go.
And then Iron Man goes out and the big fight happens, and this happens very similar to the way it happens in the original movie.
So it's just him and Cap.
Yeah, and we'll have it where we're gonna make it a little more clear for the Iron Man nerds out there like me that Iron Man's suit, is one of the more mobile suits, the ones that can be taken on in a helicopter. So when he puts a suit on, we can make a bigger deal about it where
Friday.
It's not Friday. Is
Friday.
Friday can just say something and say this suit is low on power and isn't as doesn't have as many hit points, for instance, as his more structured suits.
Yeah.
And then
kind of like his suitcase suit in Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
Just because it is only Captain America fighting him now, so it's gonna be a little bit like
and he needs to get there as fast as possible, and maybe his other suits were damaged.
Yeah.
So then he goes there, and then the same fight happens. It gets very close down to the line, and then again, we don't have the rest of the plot. So what ends up happening is that they fight until they're broken.
Yeah. Just like in the original movie. That I think the fight's in the same way where it kind of keeps changing who has the upper hand, and we already had the big spectacle fight with the airport, just like in the original Civil War movie. So this one's a much more emotional. Like I like how it ended in a fist fight at the end of Civil War. I want to do that again. Where it could start off like
awesome.
Whatever. Captain America uses shield to make Iron Man unable to fly, and then it becomes just like a fist fight on the ground.
You can say a lot of bad things about Civil War. The one thing it got right was the action.
Yeah, so we'll have it then that emotional fight at the end, and it ends the same way where Iron Man's winning, then Cap's winning, and it keeps changing, but then finally it ends with Cap having the upper hand, and he raises his shield and he gets in the arc reactor, and Tony's suit powers down, and that ends the same way, and he's like, give me that shield back, it's my father's, it's not yours. That can end the same way, I think.
I think so. That was pretty important. Yeah. And after this, it was decided from T'Challa that he was talking to Ross, and Ross wants to make him do something that is not the Wakandan way. And this makes T'Challa realize he was on Cap's side all along. And now you have one of the biggest proponents of this. Again, it was his father's death that caused all of this, just like in the original movie too. He's one of the biggest proponents, and now he's done with it.
Yeah, so basically Black Panther, even in the original Civil War, his only reason for being, on Team Iron Man and Team Ross, whatever you want to call it, pro Sokovia Accords, was just because he wanted to get revenge and get Bucky. So basically it's the same concept here, where he's just mad that his father died, and he wants to get justice, and he wants the Avengers to answer for their actions. But throughout all the political and government stuff that happens, he realizes that, his own culture has it where they elect a king to protect them. So, when Ross starts telling him to do things because he signed the Accords, it doesn't really vibe too well with him, because he's his own, he's his own country to worry about, his own people to worry about. He's his own hero and king in his own right. He can't really listen to Ross all the time.
He's a Wakandan.
He's a Wakandan, yeah. So then that prompts him, which I think is a very nice way to tie up the movie.
And then he tells at a UN address, superheroes need autonomy. For the rare instances, for the ones the government won't or can't address, you have chosen your protectors. Now let them protect you as Wakanda does.
Yeah. I think it's a very heavy-hitting scene. Kind of just ties everything up nicely. And now, the big point with this is that speech, kind of like how T'Chaka's speech in the original movie made, kind of tied the UN, made everyone ready to sign the Accords. In this one, it makes everyone, willing to give up the Accords. Because after watching this movie, and, we rewatched the MCU and everything, it's very strange how the Accords never come into play ever again.
Never.
Except for in I think it's Infinity War, where Ross very briefly tells War Machine to arrest Captain America, but then he just turns off the hologram and that's it. It's such a strange thing that's never mentioned in the movies again. So I think it makes the most sense to just have them be disbanded. The Accord themselves are just gone.
Yeah.
By the end of the movie. So you don't have to deal with it. There's no inconsistency. They're just gone by the end of the movie. That's it.
Yeah, because like you said, with him turning off the Ross hologram, okay, so an entire movie we dedicated hours to is a joke.
It's like a 1 minute, not 10-second joke in Infinity War. But yeah, so then we have the Rhodey and Iron Man talking scene that happens.
Yeah,
because we like that scene. So so the heroes who broke the law while it was still in effect are still going to be wanted. So like Captain America breaking the Accords, he's not now suddenly wiped his hand clean of the crime just because it's now gone. He still broke the Accords when they were around, so he's still going to be on the run.
What's the name of this law? Is it
There's some word for it. It's like a retroactive kind of thing. But so now the big thing with these rewrites that we do is, especially when it's like a series like this, we want to make it that whatever we rewrite doesn't impact the overall flow of like the rest of the MCU, for example, for this one. So
yeah.
yeah.
We're trying to pretend we're actually writers for the movie.
Yeah.
You know?
So with Infinity War coming up soon, and all like Black Widow, Captain America, Falcon, they're all on the run in that movie. We want to keep that like that. So that's why it's still they're still wanted by the end of this movie, so that going into that movie we still have that.
Yeah, and so we're gonna be doing a little more Marvel-esque themed, both short skits and all that for right now. So we'll have a whole series if you guys are really into Marvel.
Yeah.
And also, I think you should say about the Spider-Man thing now.
Yeah, there's two last points too with this is that the final scene with Winter Soldier and T'Challa back in Wakanda, that's still going to happen because, like we said in our Captain America 3 rewrite, we still end it with Bucky being able to be brainwashed. So he didn't get brainwashed in this movie, obviously, but Black Panther, now that he kind of feels bad for chasing down the whole movie, he offers his medical services to clear Bucky of the brainwashing. So Bucky's also in Wakanda for Infinity War. Got to keep the flow going. And then the last thing is, going forward, it also makes a lot more sense now the way that Iron Man ignores Spider-Man in Homecoming. Because when you watch the movie, it kind of makes no sense how Iron Man did all this for Spider-Man in Civil War, and in Homecoming wanted nothing to do with him. Now it's like, you see it ended kind of weirdly between them.
Makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense. He lets him keep the suit, but it's just awkward where, he was almost threatening to expose his identity in a way.
Yeah.
And so he feels weird, But, like, you could see Peter still looking up to Tony as a mentor and still wanting his approval, but just Tony kind of really can't handle that, so he kind of just is ignoring him.
For now.
For the beginning of Homecoming. So I think that's the perfect way to have it end to make the other movie make more sense, honestly. So, but yeah, that's it for that.
And that's it. So if you guys got this far, thanks. So like and subscribe if you guys got this far. We're going to be doing a lot of these videos. Not all of them are going to be however long this one ends up being, over 45 minutes. Some of them are going to be shorter, but this is a story we've been wanting to rewrite since we saw the movie back in 2016. Mm-hmm. So we decided we were going to give it the proper amount of time it needed to really tell the story we wish we had seen. And we hope you guys enjoyed this story.
Yeah, let us know in the comments if you disagree with us or have any other points you think would have made the movie better too. We want to have a discussion with this because we like talking about movies. Obviously, that's why we have the channel. So anything you guys put in the comments, we'll get back to you with our thoughts too. Be a fun little discussion going.
And that's it. So we'll probably see you soon.
Hopefully,
we're gonna try and do one of these every 2 weeks with a couple of skits in between related to the movie we're currently reviewing.
Yep.
So
catch you in the next one.